everybody. Good evening. It is Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton. So glad you are with me tonight. It is September 19th, and we have quite an episode for you tonight. This is an episode that I wasn't sure I was even going to do, but I felt that I needed to, and I'll explain a little bit of why. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us. Please let me know where you're at in the comments below, where you're watching from. And if you have any questions too, may try to get to those at the end of the broadcast tonight. So, a little background onto Chad Daybell's home. The first time that I actually went to the house in Salem, Idaho was 2020, at the beginning of the year. I think it was January 3rd. And here's video from when a warrant was served there at the house. It was a cold January day. I remember I was at a funeral when I got a text message that the police were serving a warrant at the house. Eric Grossarth, my colleague, went out to the home. Of course, when we show up, we're allowed to shoot video from the street, from the area, as long as police haven't shut it down, and that's exactly what we did that day. And then I went up a few days later, and here is video of me doing a stand-up across the street from the house. At this point, Chad and Lori were in Hawaii, so they weren't even at the house. And the children did not want to talk to the media. A few weeks later, I went to Hawaii, confronted Chad and Lori. Lori then moved, well, she didn't move willingly. She was transferred back to the state of Idaho on the plane. And then Chad moved back and moved into the home. And I went back again to the house to see if he wanted to say anything, and nobody was home the day I went. And then I've been out there, of course, tragically, within days after those JJ and Tylee were found buried there on the property. I've been out other times along the fence that was set up across the street as a memorial to the kids. And I've driven by countless times, but I've never been inside the house, and I've never really been able to look around the property. And I never, to be honest with you, thought about it, never really had a desire to do so. And a few weeks ago, the new buyers of the home, S.J. Healings Crossroads, reached out and asked if I wanted to go through the house. And originally I said, no, I have no interest. Sounds creepy, not interested, seems a little bit voyeuristic. But after we got off the phone, I thought, actually, maybe I should, because the house and the property were such a pivotal part of the trial, of the whole trial. How many days did we hear, is the house 1 or 2 stories? What's the cozy cone? Where was Chad? Where did Tammy die? Where were the children found on the property? There were all these things that we heard about at the trial, but really none of us, most of us, the vast majority of us, have never been there and seen it. In fact, the detectives and the officers that served that warrant the day those kids were found, the vast majority of them have never been back. It's not like they can go back and come and go as they want. I asked a few of them if they wanted to go back. They said never again. And so I called back the owners of S.J. Healings Crossroads, the nonprofit. They want to be anonymous, the owners, the people running it. And I said, would you mind? I'd like to go through it. And can I bring my camera? And they said that would be fine. And they want to be anonymous again, but they said that I could explore the property and I could go through the house before it's torn down. And that will be happening soon. So it's something that Erica and I went earlier this week, and we went through it, and we walked on the property, and I'll kind of tell you my thoughts and feelings, I guess, after I play the video. But before I do that, I want to let you know that this house was more than the Daybells. Before the Daybells were there, another family lived there. And one of those family members reached out to me, not knowing any of this, not knowing that I was going through the house, just knowing that somebody new had purchased it with plans to tear it down. And they reached out to me. I got this email the day before I went through the home. And it says, and I'm sharing it with their permission, Nate, we appreciate the coverage you've done on the Daybell home. My siblings are all in mourning too because of what happened there. The fact is that our family built the home and we were raised there with many fond memories. Our parents are now deceased, but sold the home to Chad Daybell before they passed away. We are sad to hear the buildings are being torn down, but as we were talking about it for the past months, we decided amongst ourselves that that would be the best solution for the sad ending of this whole thing. So happy to hear the nonprofit that purchased it has the same idea that we thought about. Please pass on our love and appreciation to them. Our parents would have appreciated it so well. It's time for healing for all involved. Many neighborhood children used to play baseball and kickball in the area where the children were found. Our home was the gathering place for all the children who lived nearby. Nightly games would last until dark almost every summer night. We cannot think of anything more fitting and healing than a place where children can again gather. Those good memories that we had can be remembered, and the sad part of the property can be forgotten. I now live in Oregon, but my siblings all live in Southeast Idaho. And so I wrote back and I said, I'm going through the property. Are you okay if I read what you sent me? And she said, yes, as long as it helps everyone heal and not add another layer. And then she followed up with some pictures of the property. And looking at this home, I don't know when these were taken, but it was in such better shape. The house was taken care of. The buildings out back were taken care of. The tree in the front yard, which is so big and prominent there, looked better taken care of. Obviously, there's been years of trauma and neglect at the property. But she wrote me back with these pictures and then said, Nate, I remember the Price Corner, as it was called for 60 years, as a place of happiness and safety. A Price family lived on each corner. Many good things happened there, so it is sad. With less than 10 years of ownership, it will be remembered as a horrific crime scene. My father always kept his property in pristine condition. Several years ago, a horrible accident happened on that corner where many of the youth traveling in a car were killed. My father heard it and ran out. He was first on the scene, called 911, and ran into our home to get several hand-quilted blankets from our closet. It was a cold night, and he covered the bodies of both living and dead. Our memories are of love and kindness on that corner, even in times of crisis. You asked if you could quote me, but only if it was said, done not to take focus of loss away from the families who feel the pain of their loss. Our loss is so much less than theirs, just a different perspective. The pictures are of happy times when the property was beautiful. So I want to give that context because this was a gathering place. Before Chad Daybell moved in, I can just imagine when you close your eyes, kids from all over playing on that property in the backyard, playing kickballs, soccer, as she mentioned, baseball, gathering. It's such a large area. You could play football games. You could do all sorts of stuff. And so with that perspective, knowing that it wasn't always the place it was. And could you imagine if your childhood home, where you grew up, something so horrific happened there? We all feel a bond. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were in West Jordan, Utah, where I grew up, and I took an exit, and I said, I'm going to drive by the house where I was raised, kids, and I showed the kids that house and talked about, there's where we played grocery store, and there's where I pretended to be a weatherman, and there's the fence I hit once when I snuck out in my parents' car, and all the memories come flooding back. I cannot imagine if a horrific murder had then occurred there. And that's exactly what this kind woman who emailed me talked about. And I have heard about Price Corners. And I had heard about that horrific accident where some teenagers were killed in front of the home there at the intersection. And so with that background, I'm now going to take you to the property. And I'm going to set it up so that you can see exactly where Chad's home is, where Emma Murray, his daughter, was living. No one is now in the home. And this can kind of give you an idea of the property. So here we go. Well, here we are outside Chad Daybell's former home in Salem. This is actually the closest that I'll ever get to the home. I did go up to the door one time early on when the case was still active, and there was a sign on the door that said no media. And the new owners have invited me to come and go through it with them, and I'm here with Erica, my wife, As you can see, right now there's no trespassing signs on the fences. There's a few around the property. They don't want people coming and going here. But it's a busy road. Let's just show, I mean, this is a busy highway. For those of you that haven't been out here, of course, right now there's not a lot of cars coming and going, but the speed limit out here is 50 miles an hour, and it's on a busy intersection, so there's drivers coming each way. While we come out here, to give you an idea, so this is Chad's home, right over here, was Chad's home. And Emma, his daughter, on the day that Chad was arrested, was staying over there. So you heard a lot during the trial about the kitty corner property. It's right there. So, you know, it's about a 1 or 2 minute walk to get over there. And this driveway is where Chad Daybell was parked. Come on up here, honey. The morning that police came to serve that search warrant on June 9th of 2020. If you look over here, I don't know how well you can see, and I don't know what the shrubbery was like that morning, the branches, but that tree right through here, underneath that tree is where, or near that tree is where JJ was found. So in court, we heard multiple people testify that Chad was in the car, probably right here where I'm standing, and was looking over his shoulder back there. If this big tree right here didn't have the hanging branches at the time, he would have a perfect shot to see what was happening back there. It was also the same driveway that Tammy Daybell was shot at by Alex Cox. Now, it's kind of hard to show you from here, but this is where she was parked, and Alex came from this direction and shot at her. There was not a fence here at the time. This fence went up after Lori Vallow was arrested, and it was put up, but at the time there was no fence here. So come with me, honey, and we'll show you kind of the difference between the driveways. There's the main driveway here. Watch your step. But if you look over here, can you see that driveway? That is where, we'll walk over a little bit closer. So this is where, according to testimony, Tammy, whoa, this is my mic. Tammy normally parked on this driveway. So can you see that now? So people testified that Alex Cox, according to his cell phone data, likely parked his truck down this street. So we'll keep walking. This is where the cars would park. And so the plan was, most likely, that Tammy would park here, that Alex Cox would come down this street, not very far, and he would be able to shoot her here as she was parked along this way. That's not what happened that night, that October 9th of 2019. She didn't park here, but Alex Cox was still parked down there. Instead, she parked around the side of the house. So when the plan didn't go as planned, Alex Cox, I'm assuming here based on testimony, likely came running across this property to shoot at her over on this driveway. And remember that Attorney General Investigator Edwards testified that the weapon he had, if it got jostled about at all, if it got moved or whatever, or the pins got shaken, it wouldn't fire. And sure enough, it didn't fire. So he comes over here, from over that way, shoots at Tammy in this driveway. She screams, and right inside here is where the family was. Chad and other family members. Meanwhile, Joseph Murray testified. He was across the street, kitty corner, at the other house.
Mother-in-law, who had just gotten home about 10 minutes ago, was unloading her car, and she thinks the man, but she's not 100% sure she didn't see, because they were wearing a ski mask, came up to her with a paintball gun, been sort of sitting on it. Wasn't loaded. You couldn't, she nothing came out of it. But she kept asking him what he was doing. He was on, and then suddenly, after she pulled out her husband's hair, he ran off.
Okay, what's the address? Are you there? Hello? Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. What's the address?
It's 199 North, 1900 East, Rexbury, Idaho, 83440. That's my address. She lives in the corner. I don't know what her address is.
Okay, I need her address. What's her location?
I think it's 201, I think is her address.
201 North 1900 East?
North, yep.
Does she know which direction he ended up running?
He headed east, back behind their house.
Okay, and did she give you a description of the clothing?
I didn't get one from her. I just only got,
and what is your name?
my name is Joseph Murray.
Okay, is this a good good phone number for you?
Yep.
Okay, I am sending a deputy out to your mother's home.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 49 minutes, 20 seconds.
Fremont County Sheriff's Office.
Hi, I need to report something.
Okay, go ahead. What's the address?
Okay, at 202 North, 1900 East. The corner with the blinking yellow light on Salem Highway.
Is it a suspicious person?
Yes.
Okay, what was he wearing?
He was all dressed in black and he had a ski mask on.
And he said the blinking light now is where you saw him?
No, he's gone now because I pulled up into our driveway and I was getting stuff out of the back seat of my car and suddenly he was there and he had a paintball gun and he was shooting and like he was going to shoot at me. And I kept asking him what he was doing because I could tell it was a paintball thing.
Okay.
And then he just kept doing it, so I yelled for my husband, and then he took off running around the back of my house.
Okay, give me just 1 minute. Stay on the line with me.
Okay.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 28 seconds.
That was North 1900 East?
Yes.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 43 seconds.
In what direction he was going?
He went behind my house and it's so dark out here and I just went in the house and got my husband and son and then they went out and looked and he was long gone by then. So he was on the north side of my house is where he went to get away.
Okay.
He didn't say anything or he just kept like he was holding the gun like he was, had a rifle and just shooting at me, so. But nothing came out of the gun either, so I don't think it was loaded.
Okay, and what is your name, ma'am?
My name is Chad Daybell.
Okay, I will pass your information on to my deputies. We actually just had a previous call about this individual, so they're out in the area looking now.
Okay, yeah, I think it was my son-in-law who lives diagonal from us that called you guys already.
Oh,
so
okay.
I just wanted to make sure it got reported. So.
Let's see. And what's your son-in-law's name?
Joseph Murray.
Okay, yep, it was him.
Okay.
So, all right, I have a deputy that will be out at your home here shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, now we are at the back driveway. Just to kind of give you a perspective, this is the look, the back driveway and the back of the house. And right over here, if we walk inside, well, before we do that, actually, just right down here is where they believe Alex Cox pulled off in the truck. And so he would have walked down this area. This all happened in October when Tammy was shot at. So really about a month from now, the conditions will probably be a little bit drier. It's possible some of this could have been burned off, but pretty much this time of year, he would have walked down here assuming he was going to fire at Tammy this way, but it didn't happen. And if we walk in through this fence, it's right over here was where the fire pit is, on the other side of this fence. And that's where they found the remains of Tylee, and then JJ was further back. But you could have entered that property. There's another way to enter. You could have backed a truck into here and opened up that gate down there if you needed to, and pull a truck right out there. Or even right there, you can see there's a fence that someone could drive across the property and get right to it. So it's easy access once those gates are open and once you're in a vehicle, in case, Alex did come and need to dispose of it. But this was the backyard. You think about, so many people have said, how did Tammy Daybell not know about this? It was right outside her back door. Well, really, that's the back door that's the cozy cone, as they called it, the loft area that has 2 stories. There's the door to go inside there. It's not right outside. I mean, there is some distance. And so if something had been burning there and she was working all day, I don't know. I don't think she was out here often, roaming the pasture area. So it wasn't like it was right here on this grass. Still fairly close, but not super close. JJ's remains were further back. And really, Tylee was disposed of and killed first at the beginning of September. So Tammy was here for about a month, a little over a month around that time, between the time Tylee died and the time Tammy died, and then a few weeks with JJ being further back. So that's kind of a look at the backyard area. Again, the fences were not here when this happened. The fence is new. Well, I shouldn't say new. It's new since the case broke, but really it's several years old. And
to clarify though, this is pasture that's been fenced.
Yeah, this fence was here. The exterior fence around the home was not here, the one where the no trespassing signs are. And the new owner has put up the no trespassing signs. Those were not here before. However, Chad's daughter and her husband put up the no media sign that went up when after this case became big and media were here. So the new owners have offered to take me inside. Again, I've never been inside the house. I know that it might seem voyeuristic, and I did debate in my mind, doing this, but this was such a pivotal part of the case. We heard about inside the home for weeks. We heard about the property. And for us to really understand the layout of the property, the different driveways inside the home, I do believe there is a journalistic purpose in going inside, even if it is to help understand and tell the full story. Some of you might disagree and think it is too voyeuristic, and I can respect that opinion. But we're going to head inside now. I've never been inside. We're going to roll our camera as we walk inside and give you a look inside Chad Daybell's home before it is torn down, and then we'll probably head out back. So this is the front entryway. You can see there's this little entry before we go inside the home. The power has been turned off, so it's dark in here. But this is the front room. You can see there's a fireplace right here. The buyers told me that, when they went through it, there was obviously stuff here. In fact, throughout this video, you might see some of the photos that they took when they were going through the house. But this is the room where they were informed, or when the neighbors came over that to bring gifts after Tammy had passed away. This is where Chad was, and this is where their son Garth was. Of course, Emma didn't live here at the time, but the day after, a few days after Chad Daybell was arrested, Emma and her son, her husband, Joseph Murray, moved into the home. So they took possession of it. And so they've been living here for the past 4 years. So we'll just walk through this, again, the front room. You can see there's some light fixtures that probably came with the house and lights on the wall. It is an older home. And then did you show the fireplace, honey? Older fireplace here. It looks like this is white rock. And if we go down here, the hallway, I'll tell you, it's much smaller than the photos, in my opinion, much smaller than the photos showed us in the court. I mean, this is pretty narrow hallway.
This is the only bathroom on this side of the house.
Yeah, there's a bathroom. Only one bathroom on this side. This looks like a girls' room. Just I say that because of the pink walls. Then there's another room here to the left. We can come on in here. Closet. Now, this next room is the master. And this is the room where Tammy Daybell was murdered. And from the photos, again in court, the photos we saw, the photos I've seen since, the room seemed much bigger than it is. The bed was here. And I believe it was on this side that they said Tammy fell out of the bed, which she did not. So this is their room.
911, where's your emergency?
We're at 202 North, 1900 East.
What's going on?
We just found my mom. She's on the ground frozen, or she's stiff, and I don't know.
Are you in Madison County or Fremont County?
Hello, I'm Chad, the husband. She's clearly dead. We don't know.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Are you in Rexburg, or because your address shows Rexburg address, but you're in Fremont County?
It's a mile past.
Okay.
The line. Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, she's not even. She's gross.
Okay. Can I get your name?
Chad Daybell. Oh, man. Oh.
Okay, Chad. I'm gonna get somebody up to you right now. Okay.
Yeah, the corner where the blinking yellow light is with the red house.
Yes, sir. Red house on the corner.
Yes.
Blinking yellow light.
Right.
Okay. We'll get somebody out to you. Okay. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
If you need anything else, you call me back. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.
This is a closet. I mean, it's not very big. But what's interesting to me is right across the hall. This is how many steps? 1, 2. These are not narrow hallways. This took me 2 steps, is where Garth Daybell. This was his room. From what I understand, this was his room. And he was in this room when his mom died. Well, I guess that's the question. He believes he was in his room when she died in her sleep. He was actually likely working at the haunted mill when she was killed. And when he came home, he says he checked into this room. He saw 2 lumps in the bed. It was assumed it was his parents, came in here, and went on YouTube. But one of the most surprising things is how close these rooms were. You could hear, I mean, a simple conversation you can hear across the hall. So this was Garth's room, and this was the master room. Again, kind of eerie. It feels kind of empty.
And if someone was coughing, I imagine you would be able to hear them very loudly.
Right.
With that span of
being so close. And I mean, the walls are, I guess there is some space here, but this is a closet. But I mean, you would hear it. So this is where Tammy Daybell took her last breath. So we'll walk down here to the kitchen area. Again, there were photos given to us that kind of show what it looked like. This is the kitchen. Come over here, hon. I don't know how well you can see with the light. But if you look out this window, you can see the pasture. You can see the outbuildings, the red barn area. You can see where those bodies were buried. And, you know, I guess if you don't know what's out there, you don't know. You wouldn't think anything of it. But you've got the two windows. Chad Daybell knew. Chad Daybell knew every time he came here to the sink and looked out there that there were two children buried back there. Tammy, though, she didn't know. Now this is the kitchen. This is the main part of the home. The next part of the house is attached, and this was the big question during the trial. Is it a 2-story home? Is it a 1? Legally, technically speaking, this is a 1-story portion of the home. But to get to the cozy cone, as they called it that because on the movie Cars, they're saying it looked like the cozy cone on the movie Cars. But if we come out here, again, we don't have power, so this is the garage, which was full of stuff from what we're told when the buyers came through. So this was the garage. And then this area, you want to come in here? This is storage, just shelves, older storage area. And then what's interesting, you remember Chad Daybell writing about feeling like Harry Potter trapped under the stairs, and he was able to get out and see his goddess lover? There is an area under the stairs here. I don't know if he was referring to this, but kind of interesting that there was this area in here. And again, this will all be torn down by the new buyers. But if we go up here, this is the door to the cozy cone. So we'll head up, and I'll try to show you, in here is shelving, a lot of storage. This is where Chad Daybell was served the warrant on June 9th of 2020. And he stayed in that master bedroom till Tammy died, and then he moved to Hawaii. His children then moved in. He then moved back in the house after Lori was arrested. And he moved up here. And he was sleeping over here in a bed when he was served that warrant. Now, John Pryor made a big deal that no one could really live up here. There's multiple power outlets. Do you want to show those, honey? There's 3 over here. There's a 4th here. There's 2 lights. There's a light switch. It's pretty warm up here. I don't know about the AC and heating. There's a 5th plug, though. You could bring in a fan. You could bring in a space heater. It's kind of warm up here right now. And someone could definitely stay up here. Let's show you the view out the windows. So this is the front. Can't really see much out that window. But if we go over here, and I believe they showed in court the view from this window. You've got your eye on where JJ was buried, and you've got your eye on where Tylee was buried. You can see both very clearly. So, any thoughts up here, honey?
It just makes me sad. That makes me sad, and it has a weird energy in there. I know that's a sensitive thing to say for this, but it feels.
Yeah, up here feels
to be here.
Yeah. So this is the outhouse, the loft area, and again, Chad was in here and was served. He walked down these stairs for the last time that morning, and went into the house, and never came back.
And when we walked in here, it smelled really awful to the point that I got a little queasy.
Yeah, it does smell. I mean, that could be an old home smell. So here's the door out to the back. In here is a storage area. The new owners did go through this before we walked through. That's why some of the doors are open. Interesting note, this storm door was up here, they said, and someone has visited it and taken off the door and broken the glass since they bought the house. So
There was a keep out sign that was on the ground.
right. Now let's go out here. So this is that driveway, the back driveway. This was the chicken coop. And interesting thing that we heard about, here on the ground, I don't know how close you can get, honey. This cement was poured on at 2020. Joseph Murray. It says 7/22/20. So on July 22nd, this would have been about a month and a half after Chad was arrested. Joseph wrote his name in the cement. Emma, looks like it says Garth and another name that could be one of their children. So this chicken coop was put in with pavement, and it's two. Why don't we go in and show everybody? It's two kind of spots. You've got this area and this. It's interesting, a chicken coop with cement, maybe they transformed it into something else. And a lot of chicken coops I've seen have dirt, and, there's can be mess to clean up, but...
There were like 20 chickens here.
Right.
They came to see
They were using it as a chicken coop. But, so they did, pave this. And we'll head over here. This was the garage/shed area that was talked about. Here's one of the buildings. I don't know what this would be used for, but in here was the garage where the tools were and where the police searched. And this, you can see that the cement needs repair, but this was where the tools were kept. And we go in here. The new owners tell me that when they came, this said Spring Creek Books. This may have been where they stored the books and kind of ran the business. There was signs and it was stacked with books. And an interesting sign that was here, probably from before Chad's time. This is calf heaven idea, is to preserve life. It is not easy but a fun challenge. God be with us, thanks. I don't know what that means, but the owners tell us that this sign was over there, and when they came, it was moved. So I don't know. And then when you go out this door, so this was, again, remember in court we saw the pictures of the tools laid out. They laid them out in the shed. Through here, this was where the fire pit was, where Tylee was buried. And it's just surreal to be here on this property. And if we look over here, this was where JJ was buried. There's the tree, of course. And I'm told, the new owner told me that you can still see the disturbed ground where JJ was found. And there's the water in the pond, which is always not that full. But if you look over here, where the ground looks different, that's where he was. It's wild to look at just at the property. The Daybells owned out till that fence line. But the fact that the police were able to find those kids relatively quickly that morning, it's just amazing police work. And obviously Alex's phone had pinged. So the question is, when he came here to bury JJ, as I mentioned earlier, there's that fence there he easily could have just pulled right up to. He had a pickup and driven back here and buried JJ. And that was they buried Tylee first over here. And so, you come back, you bury JJ, easy access to the property. You could just drive right out here. And it is, tucked away. The closest house, there's a house over there, there's a house over there. But if you're back here doing your business, whatever that might be, I don't know if they're really going to be watching, do you have any thoughts, honey?
Well, I think if there was a fire, you would see it from some of these adjacent houses, especially a big one.
Right.
No, there is just a somber feel here.
Yeah, it just feels sad, just eerie, just so tragic. For those of you not from Idaho, around this time of year in the fall, a lot of people, especially on acreage, will burn their debris, leaves, burn piles of leaves. So this was the burial site of Tylee Ryan. You can see that all of the stones around the pavers around the fire pit have been removed. And this is where those officers for days sifted through this dirt, piece by piece, trying to find any remains belonging to Tylee. And where they found that bucket of flesh, the green bucket that was underneath the ground, and a big cement piece, and just horrible stuff. And if you pan down, this is the condition. It's loose dirt. But imagine being out here on a hot summer day going through all this. And knowing too that once you found her, that the smell was just horrific, just horrendous. And so to give you a frame of reference, she was here and JJ was right over here. And they found JJ first. So when they found him, everybody kind of stopped, went over there, realized they had found him, called the coroner. Chad was arrested down the street. They worked to remove him, and then the focus changed to right here. And again, this is right here, and here's the shed. Here's the barn area. So it's relatively close. Erica, my wife, was saying that she thought it might be bigger, more spread out. And it is, spread out if you're in a big city and you're used to really compact lots. But it's actually pretty close. Barn, shed, you can get to one place to another in a minute or so. Chad Daybell's home. Within the coming weeks, the new owners are really looking to tear all this down. They want all the buildings down. They want the home down. As I said, the power's been shut off. There is water to half the property, but that's probably been shut off. So these buildings over here will be torn down and hauled away, and then there'll be materials that can be used for recycling. And then it will be to be determined what happens with the property. So that is a look at the Daybell property. Erica said it best. It just feels sad, empty, yucky, yeah.
Shame that none of this needed to happen.
Right. Who would have thought it'd be right out here? Now, after we left the house, I told Erica, I said, hey, let's record to show. And so there it is. There's the property. Before I tell you my thoughts and feelings about it, I do want to play one more clip. Because that LDS church, the Salem church, was again a big part of the trial, where Alex Cox's phone was spotted the night Tammy Daybell died, where he had been, where Chad Daybell was said to go and write his books. I wanted to show you the distance between Chad's house and the church. So we shot a video to give you some perspective. Here's the Google map that shows exactly the distance, but I wanted to show you how quick you could drive it. So if Alex Cox had to leave that church and get to Chad's house, or Chad had to go pick him up, or whatever the situation was. Here is some perspective on how long that would take. Okay, so to give you an idea of the distance from the house to the church, here's the home right here. And the LDS church where Chad Daybell, Alex Cox actually, was at, and where Chad Daybell would go to write, we're going to give you an idea. So it's now 6:28. Can you see the time on? Okay, so I'm going 50 miles an hour, which is the speed limit. And you think about that night that Alex Cox his phone was marked at the church, and then it stayed there for, I believe it was a little under an hour. And then it picked up activity again from the church, headed toward Idaho Falls. This was the night Tammy died. So you think about the distance between that church. Did Chad come and pick him up and take him back to the house? I don't know of any other way he'd get there, unless he left the phone in a bush or something and then drove his truck in, but that doesn't sound plausible. So he likely just left the phone there at the church in his truck. So we're about a minute into the drive now, and it's not too far. It is, I believe, over in Madison County. Chad Daybell lives in Fremont County, just over the border, a couple of miles. I believe they said the distance from the church to the home was about 3 miles. And there was other days that Alex Cox's phone pinged at that church. So it may have been an area that he had predetermined to be a staging area or whatnot. On the day that Chad Daybell's home was searched, the police did set up a staging area at the church. So we're now headed toward Rexburg, to give you an idea. Headed toward Rexburg, and if you look over here, we're about to cross the Henry's Fork, the North Fork of the Teton River, and then pretty soon here we're going to be in Madison County out of Fremont County. Why does this matter? Just to kind of give you an idea of the distance from the home to the church on the night that Tammy died and the night that Alex Cox was so there. Now here's the church. So this is the Salem Church. It's now 6:31. We left at 6:28. Wouldn't take long. 3 minutes, 4 minutes to get from the church to the house and back again. So hopefully that helps you understand, if you're not from here or haven't been in the area, just kind of how close the church was. I mean, it wasn't right next door, obviously, but 3-minute drive, and you could get there in a matter of time. So my thoughts about the property, kind of leaving and thinking about it the past few days since we went. I guess Erica, my wife, said it perfectly. It's just so sad. You think about that kitchen and how many meals Tammy made. You think about how many family gatherings they had in that front room. You think about the back to school nights, the holidays, the visitors, the friends who came. It's a small house. There's the one bathroom. There's a half bath too over by the garage, but you've got 7 family members, 6-7 family members sharing a shower. I mean, I'm sure it was close quarters, but this was their home. This was their house, as Tammy worked to provide for them at the school district, and Chad wrote his books during the day. That home won't be there very much longer, from what I understand. All of those buildings will be torn down, and you know, the memories that people have of that property will eventually fade. Maybe it will take decades. People will always probably drive by and think that's where that happened, or do you know that that's where the Daybell case happened? But that, I hope, gives you a perspective. I wouldn't say that it felt haunted in any way. I've had a few people ask me, did it feel haunted? Did it feel eerie? At one point, Erica and I were separated for a minute. I was out back in the pasture, and she went into the house, and then she came back out. She's like, we need to stick together. because, yeah, it can feel a little creepy being in anybody's house that's vacated, that's empty. I know there were a few neighbors that were curious while we were there, coming out to watch. We didn't have any ill intention. We didn't do anything in there, in the house, just, to show you. But hopefully that was interesting and that you could see a different perspective of things. So I don't think that I have anything else to add. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you got something out of this broadcast. And again, hopefully the good things from that property can now come. I know many of you have asked, what are the future plans for the property? Again, the new owners are going to tear it down. The nonprofit owns it, and then they will, they're working to raise some money to develop whatever's next. So if you want to donate, there's a GoFundMe. Actually, just go to their website. I'll put the link here on the screen. You can go to the website, donate there, and if you want to help out in any way to make sure that the property is taken care of. They've told me that they're talking with different victims and family members who are associated with the case and trying to do something that is appropriate. And they're not going to put in swings. They're not going to put in a playground. They're not going to put in anything that would be massively disruptive to the area. But they're still coming up with what it will be. What's next in the case? Just a quick synopsis. Lori's still set for her trial in the spring, end of February, March in Arizona. I'll be going to that. And since we last talked last week, Brian Kohlberger, John Judge, granted a change of venue request from the defense. So it's moving from Latah County. And then the judge said, Idaho Supreme Court, you decide where it goes, and you decide a new judge, which was his prerogative. He can do that. Judge Boyce said, I'm going to keep the case, but it's going to be moved to Boise. John Judge said, Supreme Court, decide where it goes and who's going to preside. The Supreme Court within days handed down that it's going to move to Ada County and that it's going to be Judge Hippler, Stephen Hippler. We actually did talk about this last week. I have interviewed Judge Hippler before, and he will be presiding over the Kohlberger case. Brian Kohlberger case. I hope I said that earlier. If I didn't, sorry for the confusion. There's no more Daybell trials in Idaho. Unless someone else is charged, there's no more Daybell trials in Idaho. But Kohlberger will happen next June, July, and August. Many of you have asked, am I going? I will be there. I will be there. We will do Courtroom Insider every night. I'll break down the court hearing. There's going to be a lot of media there. I think a lot of people are coming. We think of the Daybell case. It's going to be elevated, in my opinion. I think more media will be coming. We don't know if the cameras will be allowed. I would imagine the judge will. I don't know if there'll be Zoom cameras or video professional cameras. We're hoping that let the media have the cameras. But either way, we'll wait and see if the judge does allow cameras in that case. And we'll do kind of some deep dives into Kohlberger next year, maybe this year, but more likely right before the trial. We'll do some deep dives and talk about those. Now, one other thing that many of you have been asking about, if we still have any more of our Keep My Mugshot Off East Idaho News shirts, happy to tell you we do. We have less than 100 that came in. These were leftover that we didn't sell a few months ago. These were extra that we have. But we have them, and we have them in every size. Some of the sizes, there's just a few. We have more in other sizes. But if you want one, you can go to eastidahonews.com/shop, S-H-O-P. You can order them there. A great Christmas gift if you know of anybody that you could get a little funny gift for. And I love seeing all of you out and about when I'm around town wearing these shirts. Also, to those of you that send me your pictures, if you have one of these shirts, send it on over to my Facebook page on my messages or send me an email. I love seeing those. But yes, there are still mugshot shirts available. Grab yours today, eastidahonews.com/shop. We have some interesting Courtroom Insiders coming up. As I've mentioned, we're going to try to do these every Thursday at 7 o'clock Mountain Time. And hopefully you can tune in. And if you can't, you can watch them after the fact. I don't quite know next week. We have another Daybell guest in the works. And that will probably be next week. But if not, there's another topic that we'll talk about. I'll post about that next week on my Facebook page. So if you're following Nate Eaton Reporter, here's where you can follow me on Facebook, Insta, YouTube, East Idaho News. You can follow Meet and the Eatons on YouTube and check out all those spots if you want. And I have to plug Emmy today. If you didn't watch her interview with Jeff Foxworthy, go watch it. She gave up a family secret, a dad's secret, about my snoring. And I swear I don't snore, but I don't know. I'm asleep. Anyway, you can go watch it. I have had for years a sleepwalking, talking, snoring issue. And anyway, Jeff Foxworthy got a big kick out of it because Emmy revealed family secrets. That's on 7 Questions with Emmy. All right, sounds good. Thank you all so much. Thank you for watching. This has been Courtroom Insider. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you again next Thursday night, 7 o'clock Mountain. I'm Nate Eaton. See ya.